Hello, everybody. This is Marwan El-Motzain from SilvergrainClassics. I'm the editor-in-chief. And
Hi,
you
I'm
are...
I'm Kara Schuler. Sorry, we're still fighting with our screen a little bit over here. I'm Kara Schuler, and I'm also from SilvergrainClassics. And we'd like to welcome everybody to our Fireside Chat number 2. We did our first edition of the Fireside Chats a couple of weeks ago. And the idea was to look back at 2020, which has been a difficult year for just about everyone, everywhere, and looking forward to 2021. And obviously, we haven't gotten a really great start to 21 so far in some places in the world, but we're not going to go into that today. We're going to be talking about film photography and the analog community. And we have some really fantastic guests today. So I'd like to just say hello to them individually. We have Andrew Burns, who's joining us from New Zealand. So, hey,
Good
Andrew.
morning.
Hi,
Good
we've
morning.
got Manuela Paganelli, who's joining us from California,
Hello,
and
everybody.
Lina Bessonova, who is actually in Germany at the moment, but she usually lives in Italy, and Mirko Böddecker, who is also joining us from Germany. So thank you very much for joining us. And also hello to everyone who's joining us live for this webinar. So without taking too much more time, I'll just get right into it and introduce our first panelist, which is Andrew Burns. So thanks very much for joining us at 7 a.m. New Zealand time, which is really quite early. Andrew designs, and he is designing and constructing a fully automatic professional film processor for the community's future, which is really amazing. And people say a lot of the times that developing film is not a rocket science, but in this case, there is an actual rocket scientist involved, which I just think is really cool. And we are definitely looking forward to hearing about all your motivations and the progress that you've made so far, Andrew. So welcome.
Okay, thanks a lot. I'm assuming you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you've mentioned already, my name is Andrew Burns and I'm from New Zealand. So good morning from over here. I'm an engineer who has only taken up film photography maybe in the last few years. And being an engineer, I've always been very hands-on and I always like to dig into how things work. So immediately I was doing my own home development from day one and developing color film, black and white, slide film. And as much as I like bending over a bathtub and hand developing film, it does get a bit tedious sometimes. So I was immediately thinking, oh, is there one sort of way that I could apply my engineering knowledge to film photography? And I sort of thought, well, maybe I can look into making an automatic developing machine because I have experience with production line machinery. So that's where we are. I started developing my machine, which I call the Chroma Box 4, probably about a year and a half ago now. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I can release it sometime, maybe 2021. In terms of 2020, obviously it was a very difficult year for most people, and that includes New Zealand as well, although probably not as bad as in some cases. I suppose from a point of view of difficulties, the main thing for me would have been supply chain issues. It's very difficult to get parts in when all of the global trade is almost essentially shut down. But on the other hand, there were some advantages, I suppose, as well. So, 2021 brought a lot of shutdowns over here, but the shutdowns allowed me to spend more time working on the machine because, up until recently, it has been sort of a secondary thing. I do have a full-time job. In 2021, I actually recently went from full-time down to about 3 days a week at my primary job. And that was to a large extent so that I could spend more time working on the film machine. And doing that has paid some pretty big dividends because it really has increased in leaps and bounds in the last few months. I've started developing some film. If you check out my social media, then you can see that I developed 2 sheets of 4x5 color film yesterday. And I plan to do a demo day here in Auckland in about 2 weeks' time, in which case I'll be at a local film lab and I'll just be developing film for free all day in the machine. just to get some testing on it. If you don't mind, I could show you the machine running right now. I haven't actually got any cycles running because that would take too long, but I can give you just a brief view of. There we go. There's the machine there. You can see it's just spinning around in some water, but that would be the sheet film holder. There we go. Okay.
This version is already 100% working, or this is the prototype that already is functional?
Yeah, it is 100% functional. Pretty much all I've been doing for a little while now have been software changes, because, you know, there's always bugs. If you're not finding bugs, it's because you haven't been looking hard enough.
Wow, that is really impressive. I have to say, it's so exciting. I think for so many people in the community, what you're doing there, and I hope more people are going to hear about it now. So then you'll get some more support when you're ready to ask for it.
Our next panelist is Manuela Paganelli. He was on our second issue, and the cover, he had the cover on our second issue. And he's also become, in the meanwhile, a very good friend to us. He hosted us last year in California, introduced us to Ansel Adams and the Weston family. The compositions are both classical, beautiful, and vividly alive. And what was very interesting when we visited Ansel Adams' home, his image was on their wall. There was not much left, but there was really the big picture of Manuello. That was really impressive. Well, welcome, Manuello. Yeah, how did you see 2020 and what's your outlook to 2021?
Hi, first of all, I want to say thank you, SilvergrainClassics, for having me and having this beautiful gathering. Do you want me to answer that question, or, well, you know what? You
just go, just go.
No, you took care of introducing me. So I think that helped me plenty. So thank you for doing that. So the question is about 2020, right?
Yes.
Yeah. 2020 was a tough year for everybody in the whole world. And photographers really felt it. We couldn't travel still. We cannot travel as much as we wish we could do. At the end of, towards the end of, I was working a series of Native Americans all the way from Canada down to Tierra del Fuego, Argentina, and Chile. And everything was placed on hold due to COVID. Then I was growing restless, then like everybody else, of course. And in October, I decided to do something since I could not travel overseas and continue this project or pretty much anywhere in the United States. I took a trip across the Midwest, which was for over 3 weeks, and took me to about 15 states. So we're staying some places 2 days, other places 3 days, depending. And it was wonderful. I captured quite a few images. I shot over like 120 rolls. And I also processed my own film. It was a project about Midwest America. I captured the faces of the common people, hunters, farmers, rodeo people, cowboys, local folks I would meet in the motels who were staying. So it was an interesting project. In fact, if someone wished to see some of these images I created, they could see on my Instagram account, which is at Manuela Paganelli. And they could see also some of my writing about my trip across the Midwest. So it was a beautiful experience. 2020, we just have to wait and see how it develops. COVID still has a strong hold on us. Hopefully with the vaccine that is coming out, we'll be able to move along easier and be able to travel extensively, knock on wood. My plan is, regardless, I love the project I did so much that I'm planning of continuing this project, increasing the Midwest, well, pretty much at all the Midwest, but I'm probably will go to some of those places and revisit other spots, and probably continuing in other parts of the USA, perhaps the East Coast or the South. I used to live in the South. I went to school in Tennessee. So maybe I'll continue that project there. Hope that answered the question.
Absolutely. Well, I think it could be interesting just to see some of your pictures. You were on our cover. That was the second issue. I like that because the amazing thing about Manuello is he's using a Hasselblad in 6x6, and you're also using a Leica, an M Leica. And, you know, he makes one image and you just look at it, and then you have the entire environment in that image. For me, when I look at it, automatically my imagination goes, it's Cuba, and you can even smell the place. You know, it's maybe we should start some of the prepared images, and Manuela can say something about it.
Great, thank you. Yes, this is the way I set up the few images I'll be presenting you is pretty much chronologically. I believe this was taken in 1991 or 92. I started going to Cuba in 89 or 90 when nobody was going to Cuba or knew anything about Cuba or cared to know about Cuba. I called a few magazines to tell them I was going to Cuba to see if they will pay my trip and send me to do some images for them. And nobody was interested. And so I started going there. I'm part Cuban, Italian too. I was born in Santo Domingo. So it was special for me because I went there searching for family who were lost. Finally, I was able to find that family in 1993 I did a book of Cuba that came out in 2016. So the cover is actually a niece and nephew, two little kids. They're now in their 30s. So this was an interesting image. That was in Areco towards Pinal del Rio. It's in the west side of Cuba all the way. And this is Viñales. And take the horseman out of the image. That's what I saw, emptiness. I thought, what a great landscape, but there was something missing. And I waited for about half hour, maybe 40 minutes, just walking back and forth and taking image here and image there, but it's still the same, waiting for even cows or something to show around. So I pretty much gave up. And as I was walking, I decided, well, let me go back to the Jeep, the rental Jeep. And I was with one of my Cuban cousins. I said, let's move on. There's nothing here. And here comes this cowboy, rancher, farmer, just strolling down. And I hurried and snapped a few images with my Leica. And this image, I'm very proud of this image. And it was sold by one of my galleries that represent me. That's the Western Gallery. And someone bought that, a large format, like 20 something by 30 or 40. So very proud of that image. And let's go to the next image, please. This image was also in the early 90s, and that was in Greece. I was supposed to meet a friend, and she gave me the direction where we're gonna be meeting. And I don't have any sense of direction. Even now with the GPS, I get lost more, pretty much the same as before. So, but the good thing is that getting lost takes me to new places that was unexpected, and I find new jewels like this image. So I was walking, and before I approached that table, I saw the men like they were just in their own zone. And I was trying to figure out how to shoot them because I didn't want them looking at me. I wanted to capture that moment. So I do as I often do, and that is I shoot as I'm walking. So is the audience, can they watch me now or no?
I don't think so. I think
Oh,
they
okay,
will see your
okay.
screen.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Okay, so what I do is as I walk, I walk straight, like not looking at them. So while I'm passing them, my camera is all set up and the focusing is set up, the f-stop. So while I'm passing them, I slow down, but I don't stop. And then I hover a little bit, turn my head on my body angle, and I snap like 2 or 3 shots. I believe I captured 2, and then the third shot, they saw me and the moment was gone. But that was, I believe, was the first shot. Next, please. Oh, that was in that image. Did I mention that was in Athens? That was in Greece. So I probably said that. This is also a project I started working in the early 90s, and that's on Black Cowboys. And the reason this project came to be is I was flying from, I used to live in Washington, D.C. So I was on my way to do a photo shoot, flying for Forbes magazine. And while I was sitting in the plane, there was this kind Black gentleman sitting next to me. And we started talking, and he told me he was a Black cowboy, and I almost jumped out of the window like, whoa, I never heard that word. Black cowboys, that's news to me. And I thought he was joking. He even had a boots, a hat, a cowboy hat. And he told me, no, I'm a Black cowboy. And then he told me all about the history of Black cowboys in the West and their significant contribution to the frontier. And then from there, when I returned back to Washington, D.C., I pitched the story to a bunch of magazines, Life, Newsweek, blah, blah, blah. They didn't care about it. So except one who liked the idea, and they asked me pretty much within 2 days, they asked me, when can you start this project? And within a week, I was flying all over the United States. And that's a project which I'm continuing, so it never stops. It's a long-term project. So it is a special project. And now with the BLM, what's happening, the crisis we have gone through in the United States, this project has become even more prominent and people are paying more attention to it. So I'm very happy I started working such a long time ago. That was in Oklahoma, that shot. Next, please.
Just to interrupt you for 1 second, we also had an article about your Black Cowboys series on our blog, on our site, if anybody's more interested to hear more about that.
Yeah.
And also, thanks for mentioning that. If anybody has any questions later after our chat, because I know the time is limited, feel free to send me any messages. You can reach me through Instagram, and I'll be happy to reply. This image, it was in Turkey. I love Turkey. And again, I was with this Australian gentleman. He was a historian. We were staying in the same place in Istanbul. So we decided to travel together. And he was just as bad as me. He was also ADD, I'm ADHD anyway, no sense of direction. In those days, we didn't have GPS and the maps. You have a map, but you have roads in the maps that don't take you where we're supposed to take you. And there are other places that you don't have roads there. So we got lost and we came upon that. We were driving. I saw that that kid was just there working. And then we stopped, I ran there and he didn't know what to do. Then he stopped working. Then he held his fork, and then I believe that's his mom. She came out and there was no way to communicate. I snapped a few images and kept going. Continue, please. This is, no, before? Yeah, thanks. This is a project I've been working in Eastern Europe. That's in Romania. This is in a monastery. I did a series of monks. It was a special place. No tourists are allowed or photographers. And I was very fortunate that they welcomed me and invited me to eat with them. So I spent like a week with them. And every time I return, I go there and bring images. I also bring some necessities like shampoos and things like that. They don't take too many things, but but whatever I bring, they're happy to take it. And it was a special image. The elder man, he was one of the higher leader of the monks. And I was walking behind him, and I thought, what a great image, and snap it. Most of the work you see here, if you see it's not a square format, that's all on Hasselblad, and 35 millimeter, that's Leica M6. I shoot exclusively with Kodak at 400 T-Max film. And I'm gonna show you the next image. This is part of the series I'm being working on Native Americans. This is indigenous little girl that was taken somewhere in the high mountains of Peru. And that's the way they dress. And they all wear this colorful hat. The image was shot, people asked me, what a great background. This was shot with a Hasselblad and a 120 millimeter lens, macro lens. And people said, I love that backdrop. Where can I buy it, or where can I get it? It's not really a backdrop. It was their kitchen. I set up a little mini studio there. And it's just the kitchen was plain some blue or green color, not too dark. And all those spots, it was just dirt and dust and things like that. And every time I travel to places like that, I bring a bunch of clothes, or I bring, I go to the local supermarket, then I buy oil, cooking things, spaghetti, rice, beans, and I give that to them, besides the bunch of clothes I bring. And that shoot, that day, during that shoot, we spent the whole day with them. And at the end of the day, when I had two people helping me, two assistants, they're local people, Peruvians. I like to, if I cannot travel with my own crew, I hired local people because I like to help the economy. And while they were sorting out things, clothes, shoes, this and that to the elder, so two little girls came, they were pulling my sleeve. I'm fluent in Spanish, I'm Italian, but a lot of these people, they don't even speak Spanish. They only speak their Inca language. So anyway, Quechua. So they were pulling my sleeve, and they asked me, they kept saying to me, they asked me in Spanish, Mister, do you have any little doll there? They want a doll. And it was really tough because I didn't have a doll to give them. And that evening, it resonated with me when I was taking a shower in the motel I was staying. And it was tough. So I started crying in the shower, and I wish I had brought some toys for the kids. So my plan is I would like to go return and bring a bunch of toys to those kids and dolls to those girls as well. And I want to go to the next image. This is part of the project I've been working on the Midwest. And this is a farmer. I saw the farm as Sam and I were driving. Sam was my partner during this trip. And I just dropped into the farm and started talking to him. And then he started showing me his farm, and we walk up to the hill. If you go to in my Instagram account, you'll see that image and use the story. I wrote the story also about the encounter. I like to write with my images as much as possible. It gives a different perspective to the image, and people can understand what happened. And so you could feel welcome to read that. So this image was shot with a Hasselblad, and when we climb up, he was just staring at the landscape. And Sam and I would just step back. I told Sam, stop with my hand. And I said, whoa. So I have the Hasselblad and the Leica, which one to choose. So I chose the Hasselblad. Then I shot the frame. Then I asked Sam silently for more film. And Sam said, I don't have any more. We had left the film down the house, which was like quite a few meters down the hill. So I ended up shooting with the Leica, but this is the shot I prefer. It was only one shot. It was the last shot of the roll, which was 12 shots. So I was really happy with that frame. So this is part of that project, which I hope to continue across the other places in the United States. Thanks for looking at my work, and next we'll come and talk to you. And at the end, I'll be happy to answer any question that you may have. Thanks for being here, all of you.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your work. And yeah, it's always nice to read you write lovely stories on all your social media accounts to go with your images. And it's definitely, it's always a joy to see what you're doing and hear the stories.
Thank you.
So now we'll just move on to Lina, who is down there and also on the screen. I've just heard that our audience does see us when the other screens are up. Sorry, that was my mistake before. Yeah, Lina is a wonderful presence for our online film community, and I particularly appreciate that she helps fight against this whole stereotype of the old guys who shoot film. So thank you for helping with that, Lina. She has a background in both business and art, and she chose to do film over digital, which I think is always very refreshing to hear. I mean, okay, a lot of people do both, which is also great, but if you're going to make a career out of it, then we're always happy to hear people who are choosing to really focus on film. And Lina is really an excellent fine art printer. And she's a perfectionist and really passionate about sharing what she does and what she knows. So Lina, I'll just pass over to you then.
Well, thank you for such an introduction. And first of all, I have to say that all the old men in the industry, who else was I learning from? Exactly from them, you know? So yeah, so I'm grateful for their existence. And otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have my lab. There would be nothing, you know? I mean, maybe there were some women, right, in photography, but none of them went as far as, for example, my favorite Ansel Adams, who was publishing books and teaching. Mm-hmm. You know, not that many. Actually, I only know like photographers, but not educators. Anyway, that's like a little side note. So we're supposed to talk about 2020. Whoa, that has been a little difficult for me, at least personally, because I really like meeting people in real life, you know, and interacting in real life. I chose analog for a reason. I absolutely hate screens. I hate everything technology. And it's kind of funny that I'm represented as a, like, you know, social media influencer, but it's at heart, it's not what I am. I'm a person who just is closed in my dark room all the time. It's just, I know that if you don't get out there through digital means right now, you know, you don't get anywhere. And this is the way to get more people into analog, to talk to people and eventually meet them in real life. That's like the eventual goal of everything. But this year it has not been possible. No workshops, no people coming to my lab, like nothing. It was dreadful, I have to say. This whole social distancing, especially, you know, it's so not natural to Italians, for example. You know, it's not hugging someone when you meet them. It's so counterintuitive. Yes. It's really terrible. And yeah, so in that sense, for such a like tactile person as me, well, I like everything real. It's been horrible. And on top of that, well, it was also kind of in a good way, turned out in a good way afterwards, but I got also stuck in Berlin during the lockdown. I was simply there for 3 days and then boom, it was lockdown in Italy and I just couldn't go back. And my darkroom was there and I was stuck without a darkroom. So that just was a whole different level of disaster. But because of that, I was never interested in film, actually. I was just, you know, shooting my Delta, processing it, and then going to the darkroom and printing. And this time I was just stuck with only film. So I decided, okay, I might research as well about film and learn more about it. And this way I figured out there is not much on the internet, like this knowledge that would be systematized in a good way. So I started this series of videos, which is just explaining what film is, the characteristics of the film for beginners, because that's what I like doing. I like having beginners in photography and just explaining them that it's not that difficult and you can get into it and you can become really awesome very fast. Like in my workshops, I mean, Marvin, you were there. How awesome people start printing. How awesome in 5 days, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the points. I mean, teaching is, I think, a little bit your passion too, I think. I just saw that because you have that didactic way of explaining step by step, really the right way into getting into the right grace.
Well, I just want more people in the analog community. Yeah. It's not fun being alone. It's not fun being the smartest person in the room. And it's not rocket science. Rocket science is actually difficult. But analog photography, you just, all the knowledge is so spread out in different books, and some books have it wrong. And it's really so scattered. You can find something on the forums. You can cross-check it with the books. You can find some published article. It's all so messy. But once you have it structured, it's okay. You know, I'm now learning German and I find it much more difficult than
maybe we can get later on more details about why you start to add German to a lot of languages you already speak.
Well, yeah. So my little plan for 2021 is I hope this whole mess is over and I hope we can travel and I can finally meet people again and do something again, real world, inspiring and nice. But on my personal work highlight, I'm finally, after a huge delay, finishing this epic book I've been working on for 2 years. It was a commercial project about the reconstruction of the center of Monaco, Place du Casino and Hôtel de Paris, and there was this other five huge buildings built next to it. So I was documenting all of it. And I don't have with me here, unfortunately. I just got the first copy of this book and it's so beautiful. I did not expect this. You know, sometimes you wait some time to see your work and you look at it again and you're like, dang, did I shoot it? How did I shoot it? How did I do it? So finally it's gonna get published. And I'm also hoping to finally commercially release my printing easels. That's another thing that Marvin.
Yes, I see them. Were those the ones you had in your lab in Florence?
Yeah, those.
Yeah,
those.
They are very cleverly made, I must say. So I think that is also kind of a product that the world definitely needs. So there is something we can expect in 2021 from you, is a printed thing and maybe also hardware.
I hope for this hardware. It's again something that I designed it. Because there was nothing in the market that was good for me. It's not like I'm some engineer or anything. I'm just desperate. And out of desperation came this product. So yeah, I'm really hoping, and I just think it will be good for people. That's all.
No, it was very a cool product, because I remember that all the workshop participants, they were amazed. They asked where can they buy it, but yeah, I think that would be a cool thing. I hope do you have some pictures in the coming days about that? Maybe I'm sure a lot of people will ask afterwards.
Yeah, maybe I should post like a little Instagram video talking about it. Yeah, that could work.
Well, that is very promising. At least you see positive into 2021. So that's your personal view on it. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, Lina, for that nice view about 2021 and that 2020 wasn't, that you survived it. Well, let's get to Mirko Böddecker. Well, he's the CEO of Adox and from Fotoimpex. I still remember when I was a student in the early 90s, his catalogs came to me in an envelope. I think it was printed with a typewriter. And I think it's, if you think about Elon Musk, I think he should be the Elon Musk of the film photography revival, because sometimes he's doing things where you just say, well, it is definitely impossible to do it. And he did it much longer before the Impossible Project worked. What he did also, he rescued machines from Agfa and everything about photography and film production he had to learn by himself. So, well, Mirko, so you had a lot of time in 2020, or what was the time you're doing, and what is the outlook for 2021?
Well, I mean, yes, I have to learn a lot. I'm still learning. Of course, I can't do everything myself. It is rather challenging to set up a production for analog materials from scratch, especially in the market size that we have. So basically how this is being done by us is that Fotoimpex, our sales company, is generating profits. And these profits we then take and invest into the manufacturing business of Adox. So naturally in 2020, profits were not coming as expected. So we were a little bit slowed down in our projects at Adox of reviving the products that we still want to bring. I guess a lot of those questions which will pop up now here is, when do you finally have this ready, when you have something else ready? We're trying to do this as fast as we can, but of course there are limitations, and this year we made some achievements. For example, we brought out the new Scala reversal kit that we've been working on quite a while. We will also be bringing polywarm tone at least as a liquid emulsion product. Unfortunately, we could not continue to coat the paper in Switzerland because COVID didn't let us travel the way we wanted. It was possible to travel a little bit in the summer, but it was very complicated, and it was very difficult to schedule. And also our employees in Switzerland are not the youngest, and they're very valuable people, and we for sure did not want to endanger them. I mean, after a year now, we are maybe a little bit more knowledgeable what can be done, what cannot be done. We're also, of course, waiting for the vaccines. But in the beginning of the pandemic, of course, we could not simply send young people from Berlin to the elderly people in Switzerland to group up. The machine is small, the coating machine. I mean, Lina made a beautiful video. You climb through it. I mean, it's almost impossible. And imagine with infrared goggles and safe light, and then a mask and everything on top, or even gloves, you don't feel comfortable. So we got a little bit delayed in everything that has to do with new coatings. And instead we focused on chemistry and everything that we can do here in our factory in Bazzaro. And so hopefully next year things will settle in a little bit, and people can get the vaccine and so on and so forth, that we can actually continue on those projects in Switzerland.
The store, I think at the moment in Berlin, which is, I mean, a place, whenever you go to Berlin, you should visit, but I think at the moment it's closed.
Yes, well, of course, I mean, I didn't want to go too much into detail. Of course, we have been struck by the pandemic in the same way like Andrew's supply chain issues. Fortunately, we could manage those because we have a giant warehouse down there, probably the biggest one of all the retailers. And we loaded it up, luckily, actually by accident before of the pandemic, just because it got ready and we wanted to stock up. And so we could pretty much sell through those stuttering supply times. I mean, of course, when Harman stopped producing, everyone went out, but at least we had FOMA, or we had some Kodak or some Adox, and so we could always, we always had something. That was good, but the store was locked down by officials, so there is nothing that we can do to overcome this. And since we're not getting any subsidies because the government considers us too big to get subsidies, and not big enough to get real subsidies.
Yeah.
So
that's
yeah,
important.
I mean, it had some, like I said, it had some impact. It had some impact. We survived. but we did not have a lot of spare cash to invest into some projects.
Yeah. That's something especially smaller enterprises, they just really suffering with that. And we experience ourselves with the magazine that sometimes really cash flow is not as it has to go. And yeah. Well, we are, I think that was a very interesting story. So should we go to the discussion now? And I think like last time, we would like to get everybody talking with each other to see if there's something, for example, photographers, what would they love to have from the industry? So I think we should start with that now.
Sure. I mean, I think we were just going to talk among ourselves also a little bit.
Yeah.
I knew that Manuello was asking, we had our technical rehearsal, and Manuello was asking if maybe he should try some Adox film, because he said in his introduction that he shoots only on Kodak at the moment. But I think this would be a good opportunity to send him something else to try out.
I believe so. I believe it's a great idea. This is during this downtime, being besides working, trying to do projects whenever I can, like the Midwest. I'm also have taken time to meditate and spend time with my family, our dogs, and ride my bicycles and Vespas, and but also reflect how much we have lost, not just the year, but also lives,
yeah,
and opportunities, and for so many kids that didn't get to graduate from high school or college. They did it, but it was like on Zoom or virtual. It's not the same. And so during this downtime, being able to scan a bunch of archive and scan a bunch of my work, negatives, and would love to, if you send me that film, would love to try the film. And also send me the information as to what developer I'll need to use. If then I could get it, all the, all my chemicals and papers and whatever I need for my either digital or darkroom, wet darkroom. I get it from Freestyle in Hollywood, California. It's a great place to shop. So we'd love to have the film. Will the film be coming from Mirko?
Well, Freestyle is our US distributor. They have all of our assortment. We can of course ship you directly something, but we cannot supply directly into the United States.
Okay. Or
Freestyle. Just the one thing is you said that you all exclusively shoot T-Max 400. At this point, we do not have a 400 speed film. We only have slower speed films. So we're more of right now in the high resolution era. But we will be moving into faster speeds, of course, in the future.
But let me ask you, what's the highest speed? 100 or 50?
100 right now, 100. Yeah.
Like I said, I'll be happy to try it. Then I could show you the results later.
Cool.
Yeah, so send me a bunch of those films and I'll use it, try it. And do you also have 120 or just 35 millimeter?
Oh, so you're asking one of the questions that I've been expecting from the audience. I mean, we would like to make 120, but like, everything is pretty challenging, and those machines are making 120 film. They are so super complex. It's really, we have some videos out where we show them, and we have actually 2 people working on those machines since more than 3 years. And also we're working on the slitter. Maybe we are too German and too Swiss, and our quality standards are too high. But we simply do not want to release. The only reason, or most of the reason why I founded this factory is to be able to produce quality materials on a small scale. I do not want to make any compromises anymore, like some of my older suppliers in Eastern Europe did in the past, who are all vanished. And so we kind of refuse to put out something which is not perfect. And this is why it takes a little longer. So there will be 120 film.
Agreed.
And the same day that we make the first roll, I will announce it over the internet, because people constantly ask, when is it ready? When is it ready? If I knew, I would tell. You can't know.
Well, Mirko, thanks for explaining that. I didn't mean to put you in the spot, but I totally agree with you. Quality above anything else.
Right. Yes, because I mean, we do this all for pleasure, and there is no point in having a disappointment. I absolutely do not want any disappointed customers. Yeah. They will not come back. It will be bad for analog in general. We can be happy about everyone who's joining us.
And I'm glad you said that. I just want to add this quickly, and for those listening to us and being present. Again, thanks for participating here. It is important when it comes to quality. It's also when we are photographing. One of the reasons I love film is because folks, just go on Instagram or any social media and look at all those color photographs. They all look the same, basically. Either with using Photoshop or using apps. It's also plastic. It doesn't have the feel of film. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm not saying that you cannot do digital. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you do film, it takes longer. Mm-hmm. You think, you take your time, and not having the screen in the back to show what's happening, it gives you more desire to make it a better print, capture a better moment. Even if it's one click, like that image I show you with, when I was in Athens, Greece, that was pretty much one shot. And then with a farmer on top of the hill, you know, I have like 70 rolls in the back of my SUV in his ranch. But we were on top of the hill. So at that moment, I only had one shot. And that's all, I captured that image with one single shot. So it gives you more time to see the whole picture, not just what's happening in the center. So I agree with you, quality above anything else. Thank you.
And it's also the length of the process, which kind of forces you to really think, because it's gonna take a time until you see your results. So you better try to do everything right on the capture, and yes, there's a learning curve in analog.
And yes, and I also agree with Holger. He just sent a message saying that's exactly the main point, Manuello. Think before click.
Yeah,
Holger, yeah. I totally agree with you. We're on the same page, and I hope everybody else feels the same way.
It's funny, actually.
We're using sheet film, huh? I mean.
Oh.
Yeah.
Andrew has something to say.
Yeah.
So it was funny. I took 2 photos last night, well, night before last now, and I developed them in the machine the next day. There were 2 sheets of 4x5 hectare, and then I scanned them and uploaded them to Instagram. And someone says it's a bit of a waste to upload a 4x5 sheet film to Instagram. Because, yeah, it's true. I mean, I could have taken it with my digital camera. It would have made no difference at all. But I enjoy the process, you know.
I'm not sure it would look different. It would look different because I think the process and the material just definitely results
differently.
Yeah.
It's like it would not be the same image. Yeah. So no.
So you tell them, Andrew, the next time they do that. You tell them.
You know, I'm doing what I enjoy doing, and no one's going to tell me otherwise.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Well, there was a moment ago, Manuello was talking about, you know, all the great things that he's done this year, but also how so many people have had to give things up. And I know that Mirko and Lina, they had something big planned this year, and they kind of had to give it up at least partially, but then it turned into this wonderful thing anyway. And it's kind of a half a secret, but I think they're actually going to share their secret with us today.
Yeah. Maybe the connection gets better when you come from Florence to Berlin. That makes things easier. So we see that Adox invented the first beaming.
Yes.
The rotating
Star
door,
Trek.
you know, the darkroom door.
It's like, here we go, and Lina is beaming into the room.
Yeah, exactly. So congratulations. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So we can say officially congratulations to Mirko and Lina, who were married this year, and they had a very different wedding planned, I believe, but they still had lovely, lovely, lovely time.
Bravo e brava.
Yeah, so congratulations to you too.
Yeah.
Tanti auguri.
We got married with Bella. She was there.
Oh.
Lina, tanti auguri.
Grazie. Yeah, we did it. It was like to the last moment we didn't know it would happen.
Well,
well, it was one of those years, but it's great, and now you can move off into the future, and yeah, so it's a very good, I think, example for what we're trying to say here, that it can't have been easy to get married in 2020, but it certainly promises a very bright future. So we're very happy to have that example.
And we met at SilvergrainClassics. We met at your event.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
So that makes us more happy about that.
Yeah. Every time I see the two of you together, I think about having you in the living room and watching you watch each other and thinking, oh, well, I think something is definitely there. So,
but what made me think, just to jump now from Berlin to New Zealand, is it maybe possible to develop with your Midtone machine also slide film, the Scala film? Would that work? Just out of, did you try that in a machine?
I have run one sheet of 4x5 Ektachrome in there so far. I had some issues with the flow sensor in the machine, but otherwise it did develop. And yeah,
and black and white film.
Essentially, if it involves putting chemicals into a tank, then it will do that. So I've run black and white, I've run color negative, I've run E6. I have to do a lot more of all of these things, but for sure.
I think, Lina, when you were in Berlin, you did tests, didn't you, about the Scala film, or was that the time?
Oh, I tested this film so much. Exactly, because I was stuck in Berlin with no darkroom. That was another thing that at least saved my 2020 when I discovered slide film, because I never actually liked 35mm because it's too many frames per roll, first of all. And I just get tired by frame 12 or like 16. That's it. I'm done. Yeah, Mirko just shoots like it's crazy. With all this, like, just stop shooting, stop wasting.
I'm manually advancing on my Leica M6. Huh? So.
I'm constantly stopping him from shooting so much, or I'm wasting film. But anyway, and he's telling me, but I'm making film. So.
That's a good point. If you make it yourself, you should be able to shoot as many
luckily
frames as
we
you
have
want.
less bad rolls now. So I really actually have to pay for my own film. But in the old days, we had so many bad rolls that I was never out of film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We have like a box of scratch film.
We have one box of scratch film, but that box is 3 years old. And since then, no more scratch film.
You know, I think we better move on to the question.
I'm really interested in the Midtone machine too for Scala, of course, because we tried it with the Yobo and it works, definitely. And I think a lot of people, did I miss it? Like a lot of people were asking what's the difference between Yobo.
Yeah. Let's start with that question, maybe. That is a good thing. So what do you think is the difference between the ATL and your machine?
Well, I mean, the main thing is that you can't buy an ATL anymore. So obviously, Yobo still makes machines. They still make the kind of semi-automatic machines. So you have temperature control, you have agitation, but you still need to manually load and unload the chemicals, which is, it's not too bad. But I suppose if you are doing this a lot, then that could be slightly annoying. The ATL that they used to make, of course, was fully automatic, but it is no longer available. If you wanted one of us, have to find a second-hand one and potentially keep it operating, which becomes increasingly difficult. as the machines get off. I would suppose that my machine is more like a phototherm, which again is another machine that you can't buy anymore, but of which there are still secondhand units available. The main difference between mine and a Yobo is that it doesn't rotate the entire drum. It only rotates the film inside. And rather than using a water bath to heat the chemicals and to heat the film, the chemicals are heated in a separate tank, and only the chemicals required for a particular operation are heated at that time. So what that means in practice is that with a water bath machine like the Yobo, the water bath gets to a certain temperature, and essentially it stays at that temperature forever because it's a very large thermal mass. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't, for example, run color film and then immediately run black and white because the water bath would have to be drained and then refilled with cold water or something. In this machine, because you're only heating the chemicals that you use, it means that every single step of the process could be at a vastly different temperature. So you could run a process, I don't know why you would want to, but you could run a process where there's a 45°C chemical, and then the next one that goes into the tank is 20.
Or you could ECN2, it makes sense because I think the first bath is something about 40 and then it just drops to 38 to 38.5. So that is definitely the right way.
Yeah, and I've talked to Quiet We're Dreaming, the makers of one of these ECN2 kits, exactly about this. And if you were, for example, a developing lab that wanted to have a smaller machine for your secondary process, like an E6 or a black and white, you could have one machine and then do some E6 slide film through the machine, and then the next batch you put in is black and white. It's very quick and easy to do.
Obviously, the questions are going all in the Midtone machine direction. Now, there's another question. You are doing all development yourself, or is that a team? Or and do you think about, and that's the next question, I don't know if that's a good one, but are you thinking about open sourcing the software?
Yeah, so to this point, I have been doing it all myself, and it's not because I'm the best of everything, jack of all trades and master of none. Primarily, it's because, to this point, it has been as a secondary thing against my primary job, which means it's all funded by me and it's all in my spare time. And it's not very easy to find people who are willing to work as hard as I am on this project for free, because it is my sort of baby at this point. I'm spending a lot more time on it than other people would. So the good thing is that I have a background in research and development. So I do have a fairly broad range of skills. Like I can do electronic circuit design, I can do mechanical design, I can write some software. Not particularly the best in every one of those things, but enough to make it work. It's not the most complicated machine in the world. Mm-hmm. In terms of open source of the software, I've considered that, but I haven't really looked too hard into that at this point, only because it's not really a machine that is applicable to lots of different things. It's quite a niche application, and if you make the software open source, then that does open up a whole additional amount of support that you potentially need to provide to people who are doing weird things to the machine and then they have problems. And so I'm not looking to do that at this point, but potentially in the future I might.
Yeah, then we got a question to Mirko. Do you have heads up regarding the availability of multigrade fiber-based paper?
Well, no, at this moment, we don't know when this is coming back. So the manufacturer who has made it for us before is not capable of doing this any longer. And our general thing with paper right now is that we are capable of making papers. We made this batch of polywormthone. Two batches. We could also make more.
We actually made more, just two.
Yes,
very good.
It's just that we are working currently on a scale that we cannot produce enough emulsion due to kettle size, so that we can make paper actually affordable. So our current manufacturing size is okay for making films because square meter of film costs something around 60, 70, $80 per square meter. But paper is less than 10. And paper we cannot manufacture in our current small factory. And we also cannot source it out anymore because there are less and less players available who are interested in doing this. So before we can make something like the multi-grade paper at a price that the consumer expects from us, we need to scale up the production. This has been planned 2 years ago. I wrote the applications to the bank and the local authorities about 1.5 years ago. And then COVID came, and since then we're waiting for answers from the bank or from authorities.
No, actually they answered to you. They said we're busy.
Yes, they said we're busy. Please don't bother us because we have to hand out Corona grants.
Which they hang out to us.
Yeah. So I mean, we can actually make this emulsion in house, and we sometimes do for fun, but it's not enough. It's not enough to make paper at the price level of the competition.
Yeah,
and even twice the price.
Yeah, so that's the reason why only Lupex is out, because it is a very niche, very expensive paper.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
There's another question for Adox. My question for Adox is, how do they decide on the mix of liquid concentrates and powders in their production portfolio? And what do they consider to be the various advantages and disadvantages of these approaches?
Well, approach of making liquid and powder in general?
No, I think what they mean is like, when you go for a developer, why would you decide to make liquid versus powder? And why do we have a certain portfolio of developers?
So we always made liquid developers in the past because of the health reasons. It is just simply safer to mix a liquid, and powder developers had a lot of let's say problems because of the inhaling of the powders. So when we introduced our Captura technology, which is binding the dust so that you can safely mix powder developers without inhaling any chemicals, I think this is the breakthrough. And since then, we want to increase the powder range a lot, because there are certain advantages to powder. You don't ship water around the globe, they last longer, and also after you mix them, they stay longer, especially with paper developers, because they are in the open air in the tray. So I personally think that powder developers are superior to liquid developers. However, in some film developers, it's not possible because you want to highly dilute them, or they can only be made as liquid concentrates. So we basically want to offer a comprehensive powder range that can suit everyone's needs, so that people can actually switch and make their own decision. Do I take it in powder or do I take it in liquid? Stop bus, for example, which is easy to make. You can buy in both versions from us, Fixer as well.
And then here about merchandising, people are interested from where do you get, where is it possible to get your t-shirts? Or are they just not, is it possible to buy them? Or is that unique?
I wish it was possible.
We gave some away for orders above
100
euros.
euros.
100 t-shirts we gave away.
But I was not still satisfied with the quality. I'm just looking for a good place to make them. And I made like several, and I just don't like what they did. And I don't want to sell just stupid stuff. And this one is just an H&M t-shirt, and we gave it to a place which did a heat transfer, but of course it was like 25 euros, you know. So of course we can't produce it.
Right.
But I'm researching
we're
right
on
now.
it. We're
really on it.
Yeah. There's a market for it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cool. But we had a question
by Mirko.
Yes,
you know how it happened. He wrote it to me in a chat. We were texting back then a lot. We were not that much together, and he was texting me, and he said about something like, "Oh, the best things in life are analog." And I said, "Wow, that's an amazing slogan. You do something out of it." And at this moment, I was at a printing place, and I was printing business cards, I think. And I said, "Guys, could you just quickly do some stickers?" And I made a very, very, really, really hideous design, which said the best things in life are analog.
I think we have some here.
So bad. And yeah, and then they printed it. I brought it here, and then we have an awesome designer who made it look good. They make it look like this. People actually want it.
Yeah, so I love the story behind it too.
Well, obviously they go very well. All our participants in workshops, they always take the analog one, and we still have only the HR50 and the CH S102 here. But the analog things are all gone. The stickers.
You know what, guys? You should take the film stickers too. I worked on them so much. Yeah, I'm almost.
We have a question for Manuello. So Manuello, you already told us about your film stocks, but someone is wondering, how do you process and print? And do you print your own images, or do you have them printed by someone else? So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure, that's a great question. My stock is T-Max 400. I use the T-Max Kodak developer for the film, which is also the same for the paper. What was the other question?
Oh, sorry. Like, do you
print yourself?
Do you print yourself?
Also? Yes, I print all my work. I printed in the wet room, and also I scan all my work, and it needs to be printed digitally. Then I also do it in my studio. Right now, my galleries sell my work analog, fiber-based prints, as well as digital prints from the negative. That has become mainstream.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, being a student of Ansel Adams, we would expect you to enjoy making your own
here and there a print.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, which I learned from him. Yeah. And I think somebody wanted to know also how fast, as soon as I'm finished on a trip, how fast do I process my film? I try to do it on this trip. Like I say, I shot like 120 rolls. I believe I processed all that, I believe in 3 days, and I wanted to do it faster, but I was too tired.
It's all
you're doing
right?
that.
Just one film type you're using.
I'm sorry?
They're all the same. That's all T-Max 400.
T-Max 400.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But do you do it in, sorry?
Do you shoot it at 400 or do you overexpose?
Pretty much 400. I used to overexpose. You mean like push it? That's pushing the film?
Oh.
Well,
overexpose.
Yeah,
no, 200. Shoot at 200.
Well,
I see. No, I see. I like to stick with 400. I used to push the film or under push. When I used to work for long ago, I used to work for a newspaper in Chattanooga, Tennessee, called it Chattanooga Times. I prefer shooting. Sometimes when you push, then I could get more grains or it changed a little bit. So I like to stick with it. And if I need more time, then I just use a tripod, or I shoot very slow handheld with the Leica. Obviously with the Hasselblad, I will have to have a tripod if I need more time. But with the Leica, I'm able to hold it at 130, kinda, and or find a wall to hold it. So I try to stick with 400, and I don't push it or underexpose or over. Well, I do all my processing. Nobody touches my film.
Yeah.
You do it by hand inversion, or you have a machine, or how do you do that?
I do it by hand. I do with the old-fashioned way. I have a canister that will hold 8 reels and 35. So I have like 3 of those, and also will hold 4 120 Hasselblad. So I just do it and play some jazz or blues and have fun with it.
You're a more patient man than I am.
But you don't smoke a Cuban cigar while you do that or something?
No. I'm being ADHD. I gotta be very focused. But once I'm focused, I'm in the zone. And hopefully to the participants, once this virus is over, I do workshops across the world So if you join me, then you can see how I shoot, and you can learn so much, and how I take my time shooting, and how focused I get on a project or when I see something. And hopefully you guys could do that also.
It was planned, you remember.
Yes, we're definitely hoping to have you in our series of workshops as well. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
In fact, we were talking about it before COVID landed.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, you know, I was making an arrangement because I was planning to do a workshop in France. Remember I was telling you,
with Leica, I think, in France.
Yeah, Leica, France wanted me there. And then I was hoping to, from France, hoping to plan and make it to Germany to work, do a workshop there. And then came COVID-19. And then now Lina, I need to go on, want to go and visit my family in Italy. I want to do a workshop with Lina there and her darkroom.
That would be awesome. And wait, where are you from, Italy?
Oh, Messina, La Sicilia.
Oh,
yeah.
That's Sicily.
Il nonni, Messina. Ma anche c'è famiglia in Venezia, Veneto.
Ludwig, you can do subtitles?
Yes, we have Andreas and Ludwig are supporting us.
Yeah, we just have to mention that they're doing a great job behind the scenes, and they're just organizing so that everything comes
So
here.
thank you to them behind the scenes. And they've just fed us another question for Mirko. Do you want to read that one?
Yeah. Well, people want to see how they could, I think they want the products as soon as possible, and they want to know how can they support Adox best to continue so that you get progress in Switzerland. Is there something they can do?
But of course, you can always buy from Fotoimpex.
Yes.
If possible, not only films. But all across the entire line of products, and whatever we make there, we reinvest, and of course we are always looking for good hardworking people who want to join us, especially technicians, engineers, mechanics, electricians, all those people, even older ones, if they still know some things about the old machines that we have as a part-time job. I mean, it's not only money, it's also finding the right people. Especially nowadays, I have to say, finding people that also are willing to stay a little with us and not move on every other year again. So yeah.
Andrew, is that not a job description that would fit to you?
Yes, unfortunately, I don't think my partner would like to leave New Zealand at this point.
It's nice there in Berlin. It's really the city to be.
I went there in 2018, actually, and I liked Berlin. It was good. Got some good vegetarian food there.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, people are asking how big is the machine, how heavy it is, and
I don't know the weight. It'd be a few kilos. It's not very large, actually. It's only maybe about 400 millimeters by about 300 by about 250 or something. So overall, it's quite a lot smaller than the Yobo machines, which are pretty huge. But then again, it can only do 4 rolls of 35 millimeter at a time. So.
Okay. And I also asked something, Andrew, how many chemical storage tanks do you have? I mean, how many different liquids can I fill in your machine for a process? And how many milliliters?
It has 6 chemical channels, not including water. So water is a separate one again. And in terms of the storage tank, I need to actually play with that a little bit. I was running the process yesterday and it overfilled the developing tank and it was a bit leaking out the end. So I think around 500 milliliters probably for the developing tank.
Okay, yeah.
There's a question to Mirko. It's about Brexit. I think some people are afraid that there will be issues about Brexit, delivering Adox to or Fotoimpex products to UK. Is there anything?
Well, I mean, I actually thought that now that they finally signed this deal that we could keep shipping like usual. Unfortunately, I had to learn that's not the case. I mean, the British, very unfortunately, are out of the European Union, out of the Binnenmarkt, as we call it, the European Community Market. So we have to send everything export. This this means that since today people from Great Britain can buy without VAT from us. I have no clue how Great Britain is going to charge them their VAT. I guess right now it's pretty cool actually to order, because there is a chance that parcels just slip through and you won't pay any VAT at all. Eventually they will solve this problem. So what I cannot say at this point is if we will have some issues with the chemicals, because our problem is if we don't if we have to export to another country, we have to do it through postal service. Otherwise, we have to do a real export declaration. Mm-hmm. And postal service, on the other hand, is not carrying any hazardous substances. So it might be, in the worst case, that people from Great Britain will have to buy chemicals from our UK distributors and cannot buy them directly anymore, except, of course, for those like the new Stala kit, which we explicitly made to be worldwide shippable. Actually, every new chemical we bring out, we try very hard to make it non-classification and shippable.
Yeah, like with this emulsion also.
The emulsion we can ship. We don't know about the hardener yet.
Well, we're trying to make it the most eco-friendly possible, of course.
Yeah.
Everything what we make, we try to make it the most eco-friendly possible.
We look into those recipes. Like a lot of those photo recipes have not been touched for 20 years. And a lot of the stuff in there was in there because of price. And actually nowadays with the current price of photochemicals, it's not that crucial anymore to pinch every single penny. So you can take out some nasty stuff and replace it by way better stuff, which is just a little bit more expensive.
I think that's very important to a lot of people. And we've also had a question that was about the ecological impact of analog photography, and that being one of the challenges that we all have to look at, looking to the future, because that should not be a limiting factor for our growth as a community, but it's also something that I think everybody is very aware of. So I think it's wonderful that you know, as a company are really taking that into consideration. And maybe just a word out to the, the community. Yeah, sometimes we have to pay a couple cents more for something, but just, there are reasons for that. A lot of the time, there really are reasons. There aren't money grubbers behind these companies who are trying to, get rich. I don't think anybody goes into film photography right now to get rich, And so I think if we're investing in the analog community, then a lot of times it's going into chemicals that are more environmentally friendly and things like that. So it's definitely a conversation that we should all be having with each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's also really, our coating machine. We have the small coating machine in Switzerland, and we're trying to build a small eco-friendly coating machine here, because those giant machines left over from the old days and some of the other factories, they consume a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And this is not only an environmental question, but it's of course also a price question, with energy becoming more expensive.
Yeah, but also with chemicals, it's been my biggest concern, obviously, I guess, as for most of us. It's something that we love doing, but at the same time, we of course don't want to poison the planet. Yeah. But at least what I saw here at Adox, at the factory, that of course everything, like even the water from washing the instruments, everything goes into, how do you call this, parting, this company who takes the containers and then purifies the water and whatever. So it's not being dumped anywhere or anything. This is like really our chemists are actually there sometimes. They freak me out how they wash everything, and even this water goes. And then we have to pay tons of money, of course, to make it, to purify it, because the companies which take this water, of course, they charge. But I think it's really, really worth it in the long run. And
but it's
our colleagues shouting in the back, overtime. So we apologize to all the people.
Yes, I'd love to just sit here and kind of chat with you guys all night. Also, our tech rehearsal was so much fun, and also went over to overtime because it was just a nice group of people. And thank you so much for joining us today. And also thanks again to Andreas and to Ludwig, who are in the background. We don't see them, but they've been helping.
Is it possible to switch them in for a moment, or
I don't know. But anyway, thank you very much, you guys. They've been feeding us questions and keeping all the screens coming up and running. So thanks to all the panelists, of course, for giving so much of your time. And thanks for everybody who joined us today. You can see on the screen now everybody's websites. So I hope you'll all go and find out more about all of the people who are with us on the panel today. And
the next Fireside Chat?
The next Fireside Chat will be in 2 weeks, another Saturday evening. And we'll have more really interesting guests from the analog community. So I hope that a lot of you will be back to join us.
That's it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.